Yo, what is going on? It's your boy Emrick. It's another episode of Esports with Emrick. We are talking about Nest day one, day two. Let's talk about yesterday. One of the things that we went over was simply that this is a tournament that doesn't mean a lot. Excuse me. It's a tournament that doesn't mean a lot. It's rather unpredictable in what level of motivation some of these players are going to have. Some of the players haven't played together. You've got a mix of the pro team, and in some cases, these pro team players were substitutes, and so we're not necessarily always sure about the familiarity with the teams. And again, it's also in a meta in season 11 that is going to change and has changed drastically since a lot of these players have actually played any type of organized pro game. And as a result, it's hard to decipher whether some of these younger players can play some of these champions at this level. For example, OMG, it talked about it in the write-up. When I was looking through some of these guys, they all had really bad win rates. Obviously, the team won 3 series throughout the entirety of summer. But they were playing champions that were popular in summer. Or they were playing champions that were popular in spring. And in some cases, those champions are no longer popular. So how are they going to transition over? What's going to happen? And I think what we saw was that, a lot of this inexperience came out very early. I mean, with Solo Kill going ahead and teleporting over to the Baron right away, first game of the day, we see him teleport to the Baron, leave the bottom lane open for the back door. I think that game was a little bit closer than, that final scoreline might indicate, because the gold was pretty even there. That fight at the Baron was going to, probably dictate who won that game. But Up was able to, or not was Up. It was Up. It was Up. It wasn't the first game of the day. It was the second game of the day. Up was able to kind of avoid that and just win without it. So, we're going to see those type of things. And now we got, a couple new teams in the mix. So kind of let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. Let's take a look here. So first game of the day here, we've got Rare Atom and Team WE. So, this feels like the safest game in cash. I mean, obviously, Team WE, huge favorites here, minus 345. It's a little bit surprising that they're only minus 345 when you have a team like Sunning at minus 400 and even FBX at minus 425. WE is bringing basically their entire pro roster. There is a chance that Shanks doesn't play. I would almost expect that they have their backup come in just to kind of get an idea of what's going on with him and see if we can get an upgrade. So let me kind of pull this up here. Sorry, I thought I had it up. I guess I don't. Oh, there it is. All right. Sorry, it was on the other screen here. So that's going to be WQW. So I would expect him to play, in a lot of my WE cash game lineups and things of that sort. I'm probably not just going to play the middle or the mid position. I'll try and keep it safe, play the other guys that we know are going to be playing. You absolutely want to get Elk in. You absolutely want to get Breathe in, and it's hard to kind of pass up on missing and Bishan as well. So it just makes a lot of sense. This game, again, feels pretty safe. Rare Atom did end up actually winning the summer playoffs for the LDL, so this is not a bad team. It's not necessarily a super bloody team one way or the other. They did have 18 kills per win, 17 kills per loss, so not a super conservative team by any means as well. I definitely think on a money line straight bet, you can bet Rare Atom. I do have a couple parlays with Team WE, but I have a straight bet to kind of even that out with Rare Atom, just in case they do pull that upset that I'm not at a complete loss there. Kind of just evens out one way or the other, just a little bit of a hedge. Don't really necessarily expect them to win, but I didn't expect 4 out of the 6 to win yesterday, but it worked out really well for me. The next game is going to be OMG and Edward Gaming. Look, both of these teams really didn't do a lot to impress yesterday. They were lackluster. OMG kind of was expected. This team wasn't good, even in the LDL. Edward Gaming, on the other hand, a little bit higher hopes, but I don't know when some of these teams get the notification that they're going to be playing these guys, when these rosters are decided, and what kind of thoughts are put into it. So I don't know if this was kind of a late addition. I can't imagine that the primary EDG team was going to be out here for this. So they must have had some type of inkling or knowing that they were going to play. But at 165, I kind of like it, but this is just a game where, if you had to make a bet, I think I'm going to bet on EDG just because I am trying to, go through a challenge and see what I can do, similar to what League Items Peichel did, where he bet on everything at Worlds. I'm going to do the same thing for Nest here. So I am placing a wager, but this is a game that I really just don't want a ton of exposure to in DFS. I really don't want to bet. It's not part of any of my parlays. I wasn't impressed with the way that either of these teams played. So certainly, just like I said yesterday, where I put the 2 units on IG, that V5 was going to come out and get the win. Certainly did. So, just look for OMG and EDG to explode in one of those games where 2 really, really bad teams just can't finish each other, and they, get like 60 kills. Moving on, I don't necessarily expect that to actually happen, but it could, I guess. The next game is going to be Suning and BLG. This is a game that I don't feel as confident as others in the esports department Discord do. I went back and watched the game to some, on speed to just kind of see what happened. I didn't watch all of these games in their entirety last night, so I tried to catch up during the day. Obviously, being on the East Coast, these are kind of some strange hours. But Suning didn't. I don't know, were they getting kills because they were good? Were they getting kills because FPX was just feeding and not finishing? Can we expect the same thing? Probably not, but we have seen Suning at times have these really, really high highs and these really, really low lows. And as a result, you get games where they really come in as the favorite and you expect them to win, and they just fall flat, kind of like yesterday. And then that happens and continues to happen for a little while. And then all of a sudden, they explode and become like the best team ever. That being said, in any case, given what happened yesterday, given the way that BLG played, the amount of kills that they typically have in wins and in losses, the way that they're going to win is similar to what FPX did yesterday, is complete fiesta. I love both of these teams for GPPs. In DFS, I love BLG a ton. We have a little bit more clarity on what their lineup is going to be. It makes a ton of sense that they were running out wings. That's who we kind of thought they were going to run out, but to be safe, I did. I played a little bit. I think Rise is the other guy. Myths instead of Bew makes a ton of sense. Just keep in mind, when it comes to each one of these games, there's no guarantee that they run out the same lineup. They should, but I think it was like LGD last year that we saw Garvey come in, and there was just a lot of randomness. I think he played ADC for a while. Maybe it was in Kespa. At the Kespa Cup, I know for the Koreans, KT ran different rosters all the time. HLE did. They were kind of utilizing that as a primer for what the roster was going to look like in the next split. And, those tournaments, Demacia and Kespa, are at the end of December, so that makes a little bit more sense. I guess there's a little bit less risk here, but certainly is something that can happen. So just, don't be surprised if you play a guy, you expect him to be in there, and they just pull a switcheroo on you. Next game. This is the line that I feel just is absolutely wrong. LNG looked, decent yesterday. I think the team played well. Victory 5, on the other hand, this is a game I did watch live. I went back and watched it not even just an hour ago, and I am perplexed how they were able to come out of that ahead. Just that last fight, IG just over forcing it, overextending. They did several other times in that game, and they got away with it. So I kind of think that they felt like, especially Zune, thought he could come in and they almost did get away with it, and they almost did wipe them, but they didn't. And they did it really close to their base, and they all died at the same time. These are some of the things that are uncontrollable variables into what makes really good DFS games. When you have the games where you have these big team fights and 3 or 4 guys die on both sides, neither team can necessarily finish the game at that point. And so these games drag on and drag on and drag on. But when you get games like this, or games like, I think it was the very first game where Rogue Warriors just won a decisive team fight. I think it was at a dragon, or maybe it was in the red side lower jungle. And then they were just able to finish because there were 4 guys left. They had already taken down the tier 2, so they just had to crack the base. And even when the death timers were low, they were able to get in there and beat them. And at that point, you only got 7 towers out of it. You didn't get a ton of kills. The game ended early, and those are some of the things that you can't control, you can't predict. What I can say is that Victory 5 didn't look like they wanted to fight a ton of the times, and that was kind of the MO for Victory 5 throughout the split, being that this is primarily the same team. I don't have high hopes for this in terms of DFS. I do want to bet LNG. I bet them. I put them in a couple parlays. I fully expect them to win this game, but I do have concerns on how bloody it's going to be. That being said, I think LNG team slot makes a really nice way to get a little bit different in your lineups. The tournaments on DraftKings are not very big, so I don't know how different you need to be depending on the contest that you're playing. But if you need a little salary savings, especially if you're playing like Suning and WE, I think that's a place you could look. And let me actually see even kind of what kind of discount that would be. Let's take a look here. I haven't even necessarily looked at the pricing. Some of it was kind of surprising yesterday. Yeah, and LNG's down there at 4,200. So as opposed to playing like 54, 52 for Suning and WE, you get a significant discount playing LNG. And I think that's a good spot to go if you want exposure to this game and you feel like I do about LNG. The next game is the one that it's the one that's the hardest for me to kind of put my finger on here. I do want to bet Rogue Warriors at plus 178. I do think Ultra Prime is a better team. I think that they win more often than not, but we've seen a couple of things in these type of tournaments. When a team gets on a roll, like Rogue Warriors, and they looked decent against OMG yesterday, they can continue to roll. I'm betting the dogs most of the time. That's why I'm betting them. I don't feel super confident. I don't know if this game is going to be really a good spot to attack for DFS. I think you get a little bit of a discount in pricing on either of these teams, Rogue Warriors especially. Ultra Prime is a little bit pricey. So, I mean, I'm going to have some exposure, but not a ton. I think the kind of games that I want to target overall is I want to have some WE, maybe a little bit of Rare Atom. Again, the way that Rare Atom is going to win is by just absolutely, having a fiesta with WE and just winning that game, similar to the way that kind of FPX did yesterday, or the BLG LGD game. I want to have exposure to this game right here, the Suning BLG. And then finally, the last game that I want to have a ton of exposure to is going to be LGD and FPX. FPX coming in off of their win. Super favorite here, minus 425. It's the highest on this slate. I think that's wrong. They looked decent, but I have concerns with their inability to put Suning away. I know it's better competition, but this LGD team, while it is a mix of the LDL team and a mix of the substitutes, LGD's been a little bit in disarray the last 2 years. I mean, Koi and Garvey have played together enough. I think that there's familiarity with this team, even though they haven't necessarily played together as a unit as much as maybe this FPX team has. So I like LGD here at plus 280. This is just too heavy of a line for two teams that are pretty evenly matched in a tournament that is a best of one in Nest. If FPX wins, wouldn't be surprised. Not even in the slightest. But at plus 280, I want LGD. LGD has been a gold mine for DFS, so I'm going to continue to attack both sides of that game. They're going to be super inexpensive in a way to get some discounts on your lineup. They're only $3,600 for their team slot. It's really not where I want to spend my money. I'd rather get some of their positional players, but I like that. So that's kind of the rundown of this slate. In terms of cash lineup, I'm not even sure if you can do I'm sure you could do something like a breathe captain if you wanted to. Oh, I have RA. I was really confused. Breathe, Bin, Beishan, Angel, Hung Feng. Hung Feng. Elk, missing. Yeah, you'd have to. So if you want to do 4WE and SN with a breathe captain, you can do that, but you're going to need to go ahead and get an LNG team slot. So that's one of the things that you can do to be a little bit different there. If you want to have a little bit more upside than kind of a sub captain, which I think some people will probably play in some of the cash games. I think that's as good as any. Looking ahead just into the next day, and we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. But let's just see if there's any lines that we like. Like this one right here, plus 500. This just seems crazy. I think Rogue Warriors. This is a spot that if you want to get Rogue Warriors at plus 240, if you think that they beat up and you think Edward Gaming, wins or loses, whatever the case is, if Rogue Warriors beat up, this line is going to change significantly, and you're not going to get the same type of value out of it. This is one that I think you can get some good value on BLG against FPX. Just looking ahead, I don't know if we're going to think of FPX the same way tomorrow that we do right now, or at least the book does. So how many are there more FPX games? Yeah, I mean, I think that's the spot that you can kind of go in and attack some of these FPX lines as they change. We've got 7 days of this, so these are going to fluctuate, but you definitely want to do a look ahead a day or two in advance to kind of see, if this happens and this team wins and this team loses, how do I think that's going to affect the betting lines? What do I think is going to happen, and where can I get some value? So this is probably the one that I'm most keen to bet early. But all right, hey, that's it. Let me see if there's any comments in the live chat. No, not at this time. So fantastic. Hey, you can find a daily write-up about this if you want in 2 places. It's posted up on Twitter, the Dr. Roto Twitter. It's on the drroto.com website under the Esports with Emrick DFS tab. You can also find the unedited version. This is pre-edit. Pre-proofread in the esports department Discord. Just search Nest and then the day 2, 3, whatever the case is. And then, of course, if you like this content, follow, hit the sub button, hit a like. We appreciate it. And if it helps win you money, go ahead and hit the donate button over on the esports department website. But you can find me in the esports department Discord. That's free for anybody to join. You can find me in the Dr. Roto Discord talking about football and some other sports. There is a $9.99 package for that and other ones that you can look at. But beyond that, have a great night, guys.